Today's video is going to be about debt to income ratio. I know if you're like me, I used to think, oh, well, the bank approved me. That means I can afford it, right? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There are things you should be considering outside of the bank approval requirements that could definitely impact you down the road and potentially get you in a pickle. So I want to go over what is included in your debt to income ratio, what the bank is analyzing in a debt to income ratio, and what you should be thinking about before you accept that loan application approval, that credit card application approval. You should be considering a lot more. Let's talk about it. So first off, I want to say that if you are new here, welcome. And if you are not new, welcome back. My name is T. My channel is a little bit of everything, a little bit of finance, a little bit of exercise, a little bit of outdoor activities, just a bunch of stuff. It's just my life each day or each time I upload. So today's topic is about debt to income ratio. And before I start, if you would do me a favor and hit that thumbs up, because that thumbs up puts us in the algorithm and more people can stumble across my content and watch my video. So if you would do that for me, I would certainly appreciate it. So let's get into the topic. So what is DTI? DTI is your debt to income ratio. And it is calculated by adding all of your monthly debt payments. I would say as listed on your credit report. So if you have any student loan payments, if you have a car note, if you have a mortgage payment, and that could include your escrow. I know mine on my credit report includes my escrow. And any other loans, credit card payments, etc. are all added up. Your minimum payment for all of those are added up. And then you divide that by your gross monthly income. And I stress that, gross monthly income. So this is your income before taxes and before any of your deductions. And it's very important to note that, because that is how I think some people get in a pickle. That's how I got in a pickle. Now you know the definition of DTI. And I want you to think about what I just provided. It's the list of your monthly debt expenses divided by your gross monthly income. That says a lot. Number one, as we all know, we have way more bills than what is on our credit report. We could have insurance. We could have like car insurance. We have to have lights. We have to eat. We could have childcare expenses. We could have a whole host of things that are not on our credit report that have to be considered, but that we must have to make it. And so that is why you can be approved for a card or a loan or something like that and think, oh, well, the bank approved me. Yeah, but the bank is not considering all of these other obligations that you have that are not listed on that credit report. And also, they're going by your gross monthly income. You have taxes to pay. You undoubtedly have other deductions that you have to pay. And those are not considered in that calculation. So there's a lot of things that we have to pay attention to as a consumer that are not included in that ratio. And that is why I say just because the bank approves you doesn't necessarily mean you can afford this payment or additional debt. And that is what got me in a pickle myself. I have had a car repossessed, and that car was repossessed. I was in my 20s, early 20s, because of that very reason. I wasn't considering the other things that I had to pay in order to survive, to live. And because of that, I lost the car. And I shouldn't have gotten the car to start off with. First of all, it was a shady practice, and it was like this buy here, pay here situation. I was paying every other week on the car because they financed it through the lot. Now, luckily for me, that repossession never went on my credit report. I don't know why. And the car was actually repossessed when I had two payments left. Sucked. I paid basically for a whole car, and probably because of the fact that I only had a couple of payments left when they took the car, and they probably sold it and recovered everything that was missing. That's the reason why it never showed up on my credit report. But needless to say, it was too expensive for me at the time, and I should have never gotten it. But because I wasn't considering all of those things outside of the DTI calculation, I wasn't considering my housing. I wasn't considering, and when I say housing, I'm talking about my lights and food and those things that you have to keep a household going. I wasn't considering any of that. I was just like, well, they approved me, so they obviously know what I can afford. They do not know what you can afford, nor do they really care. To a large extent, they do care in the fact that they want to get their money. But this is an educated guess based on these things on your credit report, not knowing all the other expenses that you have to pay for. You have to have other things that are not listed on your credit report. And I wasn't considering those. And that's why I'm making this video, because you should consider those things. You should consider the fact, even if you only consider the fact that they're going by your gross income and you know that taxes are being deducted. You already know this. And that can eat up a significant amount of your take-home pay. So you should be considering how much your take-home pay is. You should be considering what do you have to have going out each month for your utilities? What do you have to go out for childcare? What do you have to go out for? All these other things. You should be considering that as a consumer before you enter into an agreement that you may not be able to hold up your end of the bargain for, that could ultimately ruin your credit, which would thereby ruin your chances for getting approved at a later date if you really, really needed that vehicle loan, etc. These are the things that you should be looking out. Look out for you. Look out for yourself, because that's the best advice based on personal experience. I am not a financial expert, but based on personal experience, you look out for you, because as we have seen in these recent times, you can't really trust the bank to look out for you. Now, this is just an extra segment. I wanted to address some of the probably most frequently asked questions that I have received since I've started this channel and did budgeting content. And I wanted to address it because even though I have addressed it before, people may not go back to the old videos to review what I have said on said topics. So I wanted to just do a new little recap of these two questions. Number one, why do you not show your income on your channel? I actually wrote down a list of the reasons why, but the top reason is because I don't want to. I don't want to, and I don't have to, because my channel and how I budget and what I'm showing in regards to budgeting does not require me to show my income, because I'm specifically budgeting only for my monthly bills. And that's it. So my income is irrelevant because I'm not showing my different categories. I'm not showing my savings buckets. I'm not showing any of that. I'm only showing I have allotted this much money for my monthly expenses, and this is what I'm working with, and this is what I'm budgeting. So it's kind of irrelevant to what I'm doing. The second reason is that sometimes displaying your income, or even putting that out there, sometimes that can isolate some people from watching your content. I do not distinguish myself in any category of income, because I want everyone to come and view my content. And I do know that some people do designate their income level, and people will gravitate toward what is familiar. That's what I have personally seen, that people tend to gravitate toward what's familiar. Now, when I'm watching budgeting content, I don't care what bracket you're in. I just want to see the budget, because some people come up with cool ways to kind of track things, and that can apply to any budget, high, low, medium, whatever you want to call it. The third reason is because how I live is significantly, I'll say it this way. When I first got married, our income has changed dramatically since when we first got married. But we still live at relatively the same level of expenses. I think it may be, I would give it roughly maybe a $300 to $500 difference from when we first got married to now. So our expenses really have not changed that much. So it doesn't match. It won't match in regards to that portion. And also, how I budget is that our allotted expenses stay that way, because I want to make sure that we are always within 90%, no more than 90% of the lowest income earner in the household. If our expenses stay in that area, then that means that either one of us could, if I'm not wishing this on myself, but if either one of us lost our job, that the other person could handle the bills comfortably and still have a little cushion to handle anything that may pop up that is out of the ordinary. And then lastly, sometimes, this is the lowest on the list, but lastly, sometimes disclosing that can bring out the worst in people. Now, people can be quite cruel up here. They have a tendency to scrutinize budgeting channels. And I've seen people going back and forth and even trying to prove what they make to people. I don't want to do that. I don't even want that kind of, I don't want that to be what this is. So that's another reason. Now I have given approximate information in previous videos. Probably deductive reasoning could give you a ballpark, but I'm not ever going to disclose that, because I just feel it's irrelevant to what I'm providing on my channel. If that ever changes in the future, so be it. But right now, yeah, it's not changing. And the second most asked question is, I got a DM recently about, what are you, like a 50-50 thing? Because I do say that my husband and I have split finances. And I have covered this in depth before. We do have split finances. What does split finances mean? It means when I go get a car, my husband is not on that loan. When he goes and gets a car, I am not on that loan. Our mortgage is in my name only. However, he is on the deed, so I can't sell this house and like take it away from him or anything like that. I just want to make that clear. But we don't go on each other's things. So he's not on my credit cards. Maybe as an authorized user on a couple, I'm a authorized user on a couple of his, but everything is split. And I know that some will think, oh, well, it's still your debt because you're married. That only applies if you're in a community property state. I am not in a community property state. So this was started out of necessity, but we kept it that way because it just works for us. It's not, I'm not suggesting that to anyone. I'm not, we kept it that way because I thought about it and I was like, well, if one of us hits a snag, let's say one of us lost their job, or we had a significant decrease in income, and say the one person couldn't handle the load by themselves, one person could sacrifice their credit, the other person could pull the slack. They could pick up the slack with their credit. So it's just a safety net. But we are very together as far as making any financial decisions. Big financial decisions are discussed. We've always been that way. It is very much a dual input and team effort over here, and it has worked. And so it's not a 50-50 split. Absolutely not. This is why I don't go into income. It is not a 50-50 split because that would not be equitable. We have an equitable split of our finances. And I'm not going to go into all the detail of that, but there is a significant gap in our income. And to make that equitable, it is split accordingly. We do pay all bills 50-50, but there are some variations on other ends of things that we have done to make it equitable. And so, yeah, it's not necessarily 50-50. It is equitable. And we are in a marriage, so it should be equitable. So, yeah, so that is the reason why you can call it whatever you like. You can call it 50-50. You can call it, I don't really care what you call it, because it's working and I'm good over here. So, and I'm only saying this way because the comment was not, sometimes people get snarky. It's all right. But yeah, it works over here. So we're good. And I will catch up with you guys later. And thank you so much for stopping by my channel. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Hope you have a great day. Bye.